You read the title right. I'm competing in an Aeropress competition, and so I want to share with you my competition recipe. By the time you've watched this video, I've already competed with this recipe, so this is either a competition championship recipe or a loser's recipe. But I mean, hey, like who's actually counting, right? So let me share this recipe with you. Now, this is a great recipe for elevating extraction levels in a cup. One thing I find about the Aeropress is that although I like the brews it creates, they're often under extracted and just lacking the punch I'd like from percolation brews. Now to do this, we're gonna need a few things. First, we're gonna need an Aeropress. Now I'm using the original Aeropress today. You can use the Go, it really doesn't matter. We're also gonna need a server, something to serve your coffee in, a small carafe. This is the fellow one. It doesn't really matter which it is. Today we actually need two. So I'm gonna use a milk jug for my secondary here. You also need a stir stick. Now I'm gonna use the Aeropress, I'm not sure what this is. Is this a spoon? A stir stick? An Aeropress beaver tail? Whatever this is, make sure you have one of these on hand. And somebody tell me what the name of this thing is. We'll also need two filters, not one. These are the original Aeropress filters. You need a scale, preferably something that has a timer built in. If not, use your phone or some kind of timing device. A coffee grinder to grind your coffee fresh. Now today I'm gonna use the EasyPresso X Pro, more on this grinder at another time. And then we need something to serve our coffee into. If you're not aware of competition rules from the Aeropress competitions, check a link down below in the description. I've got them all there. There's a lot of them. But the three that really kept me up at night and made me lose a lot of sleep were number one, 18 gram max dose for my coffee. Can't use more, you can use less. Number two was that I have to serve a minimum of 150 milliliters of coffee. And then number three is I had to brew this under 5 minutes. That one was probably the one that got me the most because the other ones I can adapt. Time is something that really helps us elevate extraction. So let me share how I did this, how I competed. But first, before we dive into this recipe, a quick ad from today's sponsor, which is Cometeer. Let me tell you about them. They're really rad and I highly recommend their products. This is flash frozen coffee, perfectly extracted to your door, and you can brew them really quickly. Let me show you how it works. You get these boxes delivered to your door from roasters like Onyx Coffee Labs, their Southern Weather, the Nano Genji, a lightly roasted Ethiopian, wash Ethiopian, and this one right here, Square Mile. Shout outs to James Hoffman. This is a light roasted Rwandan wash bourbon. And what happens is it comes with these little capsules. And in here is perfectly extracted flash frozen coffee. All you have to do is run this under hot water. You take this and then you add it to a server, and then you add some water, and you can measure this out or you can eyeball it. Now I normally put about 8 ounces of hot water in there and it melts it absolutely perfectly. And what happens is this is really delicious coffee. It shouldn't be that good. Obviously you can see the names of roasters who believe in Cometeer, and I think you should check it out. I've got you covered. For the first 2 orders, you can get 25% off if you use code Kyle25 at checkout, or use the link down below, cometeer.com/Kyle. Check it out. Thank you, Cometeer, so much for sponsoring this video. Okay, let me walk you through how to brew this competition recipe. For context, I had 5 minutes to prep my station and 5 minutes to brew my cup and serve it to judges. In that 5-minute prep time, I used that to turn on my kettle and boil the water to 210 degrees Fahrenheit or 99 degrees Celsius, and as well as pre-grind my coffee, 18 grams of coffee ground finer than I would for V60. Step number one is to take 2 Aeropress filters and add them to an Aeropress cap. No pre-rinse necessary. We're then going to take the Aeropress cap and add it to our Aeropress body, and then place this body on top of the brewer. We're then going to add our pre-ground coffee to the Aeropress brewer. This is going to use the standard method. We're not going to go inverted. Once you've added your coffee to the Aeropress bed, you want to shake this back and forth real good. You want a flat bed of coffee. After you've added your coffee to the server, put this on a scale, zero out your scale, and I want you to add 60 grams of water quickly, starting a timer as soon as your water hits those coffee grounds. Now, once you have your coffee blooming, I want you to take the stir cup and I want you to agitate it real good. About 10 back and forth motions, making sure that all the grounds are incredibly saturated. And at 20 seconds, fill up the Aeropress to 225 grams of hot water. At 225 grams, we're then gonna take our stir stick again, and I want you to go in a back and forth motion, not swirls, and I'll explain why later, all the way to the bottom of the bed, and then you're gonna agitate for about 5 seconds, and then work slowly all the way back up, back and forth, back and forth. Add the plunger, remove the server from the scale, get the scale out of the way. Your coffee is gonna be sitting here and brewing for a couple minutes. At 2 minutes and 45 seconds, you're then gonna remove the plunger, and I'll give you some more instructions. So while we're waiting for this, let me explain why we want that back and forth motion. We are actually stealing this idea from 𝙇𝙤𝙣𝙠𝙨's recipe in the idea of creating a flat bed to elevate extraction. Swirling motions has proven to create domes in the bed of coffee, and when pressing the Aeropress, water can escape through the sides of the bed. We want a nice even bed, kind of similar to espresso extraction, and pressing through to elevate as much sweetness and as much extraction as we can from this coffee. Now we're at about 2 minutes here. Again, at 2:45, we're gonna remove the plunger, and I'm gonna take this stir stick one more time. I'm gonna go back and forth all the way to the bottom of the bed, and then stir for about 10 seconds, work all the way up. At 3 minutes, we're then gonna take our plunger and we're gonna press for about 45 seconds to 1 minute. Once you hear that hiss, feel free to press through that just gently, but you do not want to compact that bed of coffee. Remove this Aeropress and just invert it and put it aside. Now this is a very crucial stage. During competition, I wanted this to be as cool as possible so that the judges could palate what flavors they were experiencing from the coffee. So what I did is took a secondary server and I did a little journey pour into the second server and try to aerate this and just bring down that temperature as much as possible in the remaining time that I have. Now at this point I had about 45 seconds to cool it down as much as possible. It's not a lot of time, so what I did is report it back and forth a couple times, and then in the server for the last 5 seconds, I swirled this to just aerate it some more, bring down that temperature as much as possible, and right to the last minute of competition, I poured this into my server, served that to the judges. Now, if done properly and achieving a flat bed of coffee, you should see pretty good extractions. I achieved a 22.5% extraction on this recipe, which for the Aeropress is pretty impressive. You can probably do more, but again, in a competition setting with those time limits, it was pretty good. So go try this and let me know what you think about it. If you do try it, tag me on Instagram, let me know what you thought of this recipe. Now keep in mind, this is a competition recipe, so the cup is big, it's bold, it's not delicate, but it reminds me of some of my favorite percolation brews from like a V60. And this coffee here, I currently don't know what it is. It's a surprise coffee from Leaderboard who's putting on the competition, but me and my friend Josh think it's a anaerobic from Mexico and it's a geisha varietal. So it's got a lot of acidity. It reminds me of white grapes, but it could be completely wrong in this. And by the time you're watching this, I'll know. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. I'll drop a vlog on my whole process of this competition soon so you can see what happened and experience the whole process like I did. We'll see you guys all in the next video. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. I love you guys all. Peace.